Hello, friends. Welcome to Deva Academy. I'm Professor Arun Tupe. Friends, today we are actually going to start with the optional syllabus. In the previous sessions, previous lectures, we have discussed the geography optional syllabus in detail. Right, guys? Optional syllabus in detail. So unless and until you covered all these videos or you covered the syllabus, you will not able to understand the actual concepts of geography. So friends, what we are going to do, we are going to start with the geomorphology. Okay, geomorphology. So we have already discussed the orientation of the geomorphology while discussing the syllabus. So guys, when you consider the geomorphology as a discipline, in geomorphology there are two components, or we can clearly divide geomorphology into two parts. That is, first one is tectonic geomorphology, which is the related to the basic concepts of geomorphology, and the second part is the advanced geomorphology, where we are going to discuss the various concepts, advanced concepts, which has been evolved in the discipline of geomorphology. So let us discuss the syllabus of tectonic geomorphology. When you see the syllabus of tectonic geomorphology, there are different important concepts. For example, the first part is factors controlling the landform development. Okay, so we are going to discuss in detail related to various factors which are responsible for the development of landforms, which are responsible for the changes which are happening on the landform related to various landform, right? Second one is the endogenetic and exogenetic forces. So what are the endogenetic forces? What kind of forces are there which are emerging from the interior of the earth, and how it is impacting the landform development? And what are the exogenetic forces, the outside forces? We are going to discuss it in detail. Next, third part of the syllabus is geological timescale. This is the basic concept. Unless and until you study the geological timescale, you will not able to understand the various development and the theories and models which are the part of geomorphology. Okay, so we will discuss it in the later videos. Next one is origin of the earth, origin of the earth and the associated theories. How our earth has evolved, how our earth has evolved, and what kind of theories are there. So friends, there are different theories related to origin of universe, related to the origin of earth, right? So we are going to discuss those theories. Next part is the origin and the evolution of the earth crust. So how our earth crust has developed. Okay, so when you study the interior of the earth, there are different components of the interior of the earth. That is, the crust is there, the mantle is there, core is there. So we are going to discuss all those concepts in detail. Next one is physical conditions of the earth's interior. So what kind of physical conditions are there, especially related to the earth interior? So we are going to discuss it in detail. Next one is continental drift, the idea of continental drift, how continents has drifted, what are the forces responsible for the drifting of the continents. So we will discuss it in detail. Next concept is isostasis, concept of isostasis. This is also an important concept. Next one is plate tectonics, concepts of plate tectonics. This is very important thing. In GS paper also, we always study, or we do study, the plate tectonic theory. Okay, so after the continental drift theory, next one is recent views on the mountain building. So what are the different views related to mountain building? And next one is volcanicity, earthquake, and tsunamis. So these are the concept associated with the plate tectonic phenomena. And last point of this tectonic geomorphology is landscape developments. So friends, this is the overall syllabus of tectonic geomorphology, which is the basic parts of geomorphology. Later on, after the discussion of these concepts, we will be discussing the concepts related to advanced geomorphology. So friends, let us get started with these concepts. The first point we'll be discussing is the concept of tectonic geomorphology. So, friends, when you see the tectonic geomorphology, so what is the definition of tectonic geomorphology? What is the meaning of this word tectonic geomorphology? Okay, so when you see the definition of tectonic geomorphology, it is the study of how landforms are created and modified by movements inside the earth. So this word is very important. Within the earth, what exactly is happening? What exactly is happening? And because of that, the various landforms on the surface of the earth are forming. Or rather, there are certain landforms which are forming inside the earth also, right? See, yes, okay. So, are you getting my points? So, tectonic geomorphology is the science, it is the discipline which studies how the landforms are formed, are formed. Okay, so it is not only studying the formation of landform, guys. It is not only studying the formation of landform, but it is also studying the modifications which are happening over the period of time, right? For example, when there is a formation of mountain ranges, let's take an example of what Aravalli's mountain ranges. Aravallis are very famous mountain ranges in India. It is one of the oldest whole mountain system in the world, right? So Aravallis is denigrating because of exogenetic agents. So over the period of time, after the formation of Aravallis has changed its structure, right? It is degrading because of various processes. So tectonic geomorphology is the science, it is the discipline which studies the landform formation as well as the modification which are happening with respect to that landforms because of the movement inside the earth, right? So we can see the another definition of tectonic geomorphology. The another definition says that tectonic geomorphology is the study of how earth's landform like mountains, like valleys, like plateaus are shaped and changed by tectonic forces. So guys, the various landforms like mountains are there, landforms like valleys, plateaus, at their formation and the subsequent modifications are happening because of tectonic forces. What kind of tectonic forces? Tectonic forces such as earthquakes, faulting is there, folding is there, and plate movements. That is spheric plate movements, right? So we'll be discussing the concepts of lithospheric plates movement when we will discuss the concept of plate tectonics, right? So don't worry about that. We will be covering all the syllabus, all the concepts in detail. Okay. So moving to next point, there are factors which are impacting the landform development. Guys, there are multiple or different factors which impact the formation of landforms. For example, one category of factors are endogenetic factors. So, what is the meaning of this word endogenetic? Endo means interior or within. So, these factors are generated or responsible or formed, or these forces are generated from the interior of the earth. So it could be in the form of earthquake, it could be in the form of volcanic activities, even it could be in the form of movements of lithospheric plates. When there is a convergence of two plates, one plate gets subducted, and because of subduction there is a formation of what? Fold mountain system. Whereas there is a divergence of the two plates, lithospheric plates. So because of divergence, the interior magma or convectional current is coming outside and it is spreading on the surface, or it leads to the formation of various landforms. For example, mid-Atlantic ridge is a very famous example of what the divergent plate boundaries, right? So in the category of this endogenetic forces or factors, we can see that the landforms are the result of complex interplay of various factors. So, friends, landforms is not the formation or the modification of the landform is not the simple process. So it is the complex interplay of various factors. There are multiple factors which comes together, they act together, and it leads to the formation of landforms. It leads to the modification in the landforms, right? So coming to the endogenetic forces, when we see the endogenetic forces, so endogenetic forces which originates within the earth. So guys, these forces originate within the earth. Suppose this is the interior of the earth, right? So this is what crust is there. We are going to study this in the next lecture. Okay, so mantle is there, and this is what core is there. Okay, outer core, inner core. So these forces are originating from within the earth, and it is developing the various landforms on the surface of the earth, right? Okay, so endogenetic forces, they are originated or they are originating from the within the earth and are responsible for the creation and deformation of what large scale landforms. So guys, these large scale landforms could be first order landform. We will be discussing these concepts in the coming lectures. It could be second order landforms. It could be third order landforms, fourth and fifth order landforms, right? Okay, so you understood the concepts. The first force, which is the first category of forces which are responsible for the landform development, that is endogenetic forces or endogenetic factors. See, the first factors is tectonic movements. Tectonic movements is related to the movements of what lithospheric plates. When lithospheric plates combine together, okay, when there's a convergence of the plates or divergence of the plates or transform boundaries, it leads to the what changes in the landforms of formation and development. Okay, so in these tectonic movements, there are various processes like folding process is there. The formation of fold is like, right, when two plates get converged. For example, this is what one plate is there, this is another plate is there. Okay, so this plate get subducted beneath the other plate. Suppose this is what continental plate and oceanic plates. So because of subduction, there is a formation of zone of subduction, and later on it leads to what the folding process, right? So example, we can take an example of what Himalayas are the famous example of faulting, right? So faulting could be, happen because of tensional force, because of tension created on the lithospheric plates, because of convergence, because of divergence, right? Even sometimes upliftment also happens. Upliftment and subsidence process also happens because of tectonic movements or tectonic effects, right? For example, we can take an example that this is the surface. This is the surface. When you apply the force from the topmost side of the surface, this portion, this part of the surface, suppose this is A part and B part, this A part get what subducted, okay, and this compared to this part, it get uplifted. So it leads to formation of what? It leads to formation of what? Forced and graben topography. Forced and graben topography. So this is very famous topography, which is generally related to upliftment and subsidence of the landforms. Okay, so it is generally associated with the formation of what? Block mountains. Formation of block mountains. So we'll be discussing the types of different mountains in the coming lectures, right? Okay, so this is just a orientation to the geomorphology, especially tectonic geomorphology, and the factors which are controlling the landform development. The first factor is tectonic movements, right? Example is Himalayan mountain system. Coming to second factor is the volcanic activity. So guys, volcanic activity, which is related to the phenomena of volcanism. Okay, so volcanism is also the offshoot of what? Tectonic activities or tectonic movements. Okay, when there is a tectonic movement is happening, convergence of the plates, when two plates get converged, lithospheric plates get converged. Okay, so divergence is there, and it leads to formation of what? Zone of subduction, and volcanic eruption has happened, right? Okay, or is happening when two plates get diverged. Okay, when there is a divergence of the two plates, the interior magma is coming outside, and it leads to the volcanic eruptions. Okay, so the possibility of volcanism is there, always there, with respect to the tectonism, the plate tectonic movement, right? Okay, so volcanism forms various landforms, right? Volcanic cones are formed, even lava plateaus are formed, even calderas type of volcanoes are formed. We will be discussing the different types of volcanoes in the coming lectures. Even repeated lava flows can also form large basaltic plateau. Friends, when you take the example of what Deccan Plateau is the example of very important example of what flood basalt lava, right? So because of flood basalt lava, Deccan Plateau get formed, and after the formation of this Deccan Plateau, there is what erosion or weathering of this rock, and this weathering leads to formation of what soil, that is black soil. That is what black soil. Right? You understood the concepts. So first point of factors which controls the landform development is the endogenetic factors. Right, guys? So, in the endogenetic factors, we have discussed the two important factors. That is, one is tectonic movement factor, and second one is volcanic activity factors. So, coming to next point, that is third factor earthquake is the earthquake, right? So earthquakes are also very important phenomena, right? Okay, so generally earthquakes are either natural phenomena, it is happening because of natural regions, or it is happening because of what anthropogenic activities also, right? So it is also related to plate tectonic mechanism or phenomena. So earthquakes, what are earthquakes then, guys? Right? So earthquakes are the sudden crustal movements caused by the tectonic stress release when there is a convergence of the two plates, lithospheric plates. See, suppose this is what continental plate and this is what oceanic plates. So this gets subducted beneath the continental plate, right? Okay, and it leads to the formation of zone of subduction. There is a zone of subduction. Because of zone of subduction, either there is what, because of melting of this plate, either there is a formation of what volcanic activity or volcanic eruption is there, or there is a what generation of what tremors. So tremors could generate, and these tremors are nothing but the what these tremors are nothing but the earthquakes, right? So when there is a sudden crustal movements caused by the tectonic stress, okay, so there is a release of energy, and this release of energy means the earthquakes. Okay, so this earthquake is also responsible for the landform development. Okay, so in this, they can influence the landform development in various ways, right? Means earthquake can influence landform development in various ways, right? Like faulting could be happen, even displacement. Okay, so it could form fault scarps or rift valleys. Even it can form upliftment, or because of upliftment and subsidence, changes in the elevation forms plateaus or depression. Okay, even river courses changes, it alters the drainage patterns also. Even earthquake lakes could be formed, landslide creates what natural dams. Okay, friends, so these are the important what the ways, or the ways through which the earthquakes acts, or and the modify or control the landform development. Even earthquake could be responsible for the origin of what tsunamis could generate because of the earthquakes. Okay, so tsunamis are also in the form of waves, they are nothing but the harbor waves, right? Okay, so moving to the next part of this topic, next part, that is exogenetic factors, right, guys? Okay, in the first part we have discussed the endogenetic factors, means the factor which are generating within the earth and which is controlling the landform, shaping or modifying the landforms. The second category of factors are the exogenetic factors. Exo means what? Exo means outside factors. So these are the outside factors. Okay, right? So exogenetic factors, it is literal meaning of this exogenetic means external factors. Okay, originate on or near the earth surface. Suppose this is earth's interior. Okay, this is what core is there, this is what mantle is there, right? And this is what crust is there. So on this Above this, there are different types of crust, continental crust or oceanic crust. So various factors which are acting on or near the Earth's surface and act mainly through the processes like weathering, processes like erosion, processes like transportation and deposition. Okay, is that clear? So exogenetic factors are the factors which are working from the outside. Okay, जो factors बाहर से काम करते हैं on the surface of the earth, उनको हम क्या बोलते हैं? एक्सोजेनेटिक फैक्टर्स बोलते हैं, राइट? सो उसमें से फर्स्ट फैक्टर अगर आप देखोगे, द फर्स्ट फैक्टर इज द क्लाइमेट. Climate is very important factor, right? So climate determines the type and intensity of what? वेदरिंग एंड इरोजन. सो उस जगह का वेदरिंग कितना होगा, उस जगह में इरोजन कितना होगा, वो कौन डिसाइड करेगा, वो कौन गाइड करेगा? वो गाइड करता है क्लाइमेट, राइट गाइज? सो क्लाइमेट इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट component. Coming to next, that is vegetation. Vegetation is also very important component. See, the climate affects the rainfalls, right? It affects the winds, it affects the temperature, glaciers. So all these factors are impacted by the climate, right? Okay, so example, you can we can take the example of what? Desert landforms. So in deserts there are different types of climate, like arid type of climate is there. Okay, so climate is arid because of a scanty amount of rainfall is very less, even temperature is very high. So because of that, rate of evaporation is also very high. Okay, so that's why there are different types of what? Forces which is acting in the desert area. Coming to next factor, exogenetic factor is the vegetation. Okay, vegetation, dense vegetation reduces what? Erosion and stabilizes soil. If there is a good amount of vegetation on the surface, good amount of vegetation on the surface, then it will what? Reduces the soil erosion. It will stabilize the soil. It will maintain the what? It will maintain the soil profile. Okay, it will maintain the soil profile. Okay, and if there is a sparse vegetation, scanty amount of vegetation is there, less amount of vegetation is there, so it will allow the faster land degradation. Means, so friends, what happens here? The land degradation or soil erosion processes increases if the vegetation is sparse. Is that clear? Okay, so these are the important factors. So coming to next factor, when you see the next factors, so the third category of factors in the category of the what? Exogenetic factors is the relief, that is topography. So friends, what kind of topography is there? If the topography is a plain surface, the rate of erosion could be different. If the topography is a rugged structure like ravines, the Chambers ravines, right? Chambers ravines, which is also known as bad land topography, then then these rate of erosion could be different. Even the flat areas which favors the deposition. Okay, so examples are hills slopes versus river plain. So these relief structure or topography also impact the rate of erosion. Ultimately it controls the landform development or modify the landforms, right? So next factor is the human factors. When you see the human factors, so human activities, that is known as what? Anthropogenic activities. Human factors or human activities are also known as anthropogenic activities, like deforestation is there, like mining is there, like agriculture, like urbanization, which alters the landforms. So because of growing human demands, what we are doing, guys? So we are actually cutting the trees. Okay, we are changing the land use pattern. We are changing the land use pattern due to growing urbanizations, and because of that, the structure of the landform has been changing, has been modifying. Okay, so coming to next point, that is the other natural agents like rivers are there, which modifies the landforms, glaciers, winds, sea waves. These agents constantly erode, transport, and deposit the various materials, right? So example, we can take the example of what? Sand dunes. Sand dunes are also there. Sand dunes are very important landforms in the desert area. Okay, U-shaped valleys are also there. These are the associated with the glacials landform that is known as glacial trough. Okay, and coastal cliffs are also there. So these are the important landforms which affects the factors or which affects the landform development, right? So coming to third important factors after the endogenetic and exogenetic factors. Third one is geological factors. So these factors are associated with the rocks geology. These factors are associated with the geology, right? Okay, so geology of a region influences how landforms evolved over the period of time, right? For example, first factor is rock types. So what kind of rock is that? So guys, when you study the rock structure in the GS or rock types in the GS, so there are different types of rocks. Means igneous rock is there. Igneous rocks are there. Okay. Even sedimentary rocks are there. Sedimentary. Even third category of rocks are the metamorphic rocks. So these are the three category of rocks, right? Okay. The main three category of rocks. So rock structure, the nature of rocks, whether that rock is hard rock or soft rock, also impact the landform development. It also impact the modification into the landform, right? Okay. So we can take the example of what Sahyadri mountain ranges. Sahyadri ranges consist of what hard rock because it is the part of peninsular India, and you all know that peninsular India is made up of what? One of the oldest hard rock system. Okay, whereas the Bundelkhand region it is made up of what? Granite, right? Next point is the structure and stratification. The features like joints are there in the rocks, faults, folds, bedding planes in the rocks, which guides the erosion and landform shapes. So various structure which are present in the rocks. For example, if there are different faults or folds are there, even bedding planes, they also reshaped or change the nature of erosion or the shapes the landforms. For example, we can take the example of a formation of mountains due to what? Folding of rocks, right? So guys, these were the different factors which impacts or forces which impact the landforms development, right? So we have discussed the three important factors or forces. First category was the endogenetic forces, second was the exogenetic forces, and third was the geological forces or factors which impact the formation and the modification of the landforms, right? So, coming to the definition of these endogenetic and exogenetic forces. See, the first force one is endogenetic forces. So, what is the definition? Okay, the first definition of this force is it is the driving force. Endogenetic forces are the driving forces behind the endogenic geomorphic processes. Comes from the energy released deep within the earth. Very, very simple, right? So energy which get released deep within the earth. Okay, this energy what developed the various landforms through what? Through various geomorphic processes. Through various geomorphic processes. So these forces are known as endogenetic forces. So these powerful internal forces constantly shapes and reshapes the earth surface over the period of time, right? So these forces which are coming from the interior of the earth, right, in the form of various form like volcanism, in the form of tremors, earthquakes, these forces are what changing the nature of the landforms. Even it is shaping the different geomorphic processes. Okay, so next category of forces are the exogenetic forces. So definition of exogenetic forces are the external forces that works on the surface of the earth. So guys, these are the external forces which works on the surface of the earth. These forces could be in the form of what? Sunlight, in the form of water, wind, or in the form of water, in the form of ice, in the form of gravity. So these forces are responsible for what? Wearing and tearing of the landforms. These forces are also responsible for the weathering process, the mass wasting process, right? Okay, so because of that, there is a what? Erosional formation of erosional and depositional landforms. Okay, so you might have understood the concept of what endogenetic and exogenetic forces, right, guys? Okay, so the last part of this today's session is the question for the practice. So, guys, we have discussed the factors which are responsible for the changing the landforms, the modification of landforms. So there are basically three categories of factors or forces. First one is endogenetic forces, which are generating within the earth. Okay, so the example of endogenetic forces are the tectonic forces, volcanism is there, and other forces. The second category of forces are the exogenetic forces, which are acting outside, okay, from the outside, in the form of water, in the form of wind, in the form of glaciers, in the form of rivers, right? Even man-made forces, anthropogenic activities. And third category of forces we have discussed were the geological forces, which are factors like nature of rocks, what kind of rocks are there, whether that rock is hard rock or soft rock, which impact the development of landforms or modification of landforms. So this was the basic concept we have discussed in our lecture. So next important part is the questions for the practice, right? As promised, we will be discussing um, uh, at least one question in the every lectures, right? So just see the questions I have provided, the what the structure of the answer also, right? The first question, the question of the day is discuss, or question of the lecture is discuss the major factors controlling landform development. So question, first part of the question says that you have to discuss the major factors which controls the landform development. And then the second part is illustrate your answer with suitable examples. So guys, see, this question seems very simple, but when you write the answer of these questions, you have to, dissect the question. The first part says that you have to explain the major factors. Second part says that illustrate your answer with the suitable examples. So we have to illustrate the answers by giving various examples. So what could be our structure or approach to write the answer? See, the first we will have to write the introduction. So what we can do in the introduction part, so we can simply define the landforms briefly. What are the landforms, right? Then we can mention that landform development is influenced by combination of various internal and external forces. So this sentence act as a connector. This sentence act as a connector which connects the introduction with the body, right? So in introduction we can write the simple definition of landforms, right? And we can use the connecting sentence so that the flow will be maintained while writing a good answer, right? So in the body part, we will be discussing the actual the questions which are asked. The first, see the major factors. Even we can you can put the headings also, the major factors, right? Major factors controlling the landforms. The first factor is endogenetic factors. We have already discussed in our lectures, so what are the endogenetic factors which are responsible for the landform development. So we can provide the 1 to 2 examples. Example, we can provide the example of what Himalayas also, right? Or any other example. Second factors are the exogenetic factors, that is external factors, where a weathering process is happening. Weathering could be in the form of physical weathering. It could be in the form of chemical weathering. It could be in the form of biological weathering, right? So erosion and depositions are there and associated various landforms, right? The third part is the climate. So role of temperature. The climate is also very important factor. So role of temperature is there, precipitation is there, vegetation. So we can provide the example, that is arid versus humid region. And the fourth factor we can write related to rocks, that is lithology, right? It is related to rocks, lithology. So what kind of rocks are there? Whether the rocks are hard rocks, whether the rocks are soft rocks. So what kind of hardness, degree of hardness, structure, the composition of rocks, whether the granites or limestones are there, or whether gabbro, schist, slates, and yeah, even basalts are there, right? Okay, and next, the factors we can write in the body part is the time scale, right? So time is very important component. So time scale of geomorphic processes, we are going to discuss the geological time scale in the coming lectures, right? So time scales are very important. Like for example, we can take the example of what old and young landforms. For example, Aravalis are the oldest full mountain system, whereas Himalayas are the youngest full mountain system. So, guys, this was the body portion we have covered. Okay, the last part and very important part of the answer writing is the conclusion. Conclusion. So we have to conclude the our answers. Okay, so how we can conclude? We can conclude in the form of way forward, or we can just simply say that it emphasizes the interplay, or we need to emphasize the interplay of multiple factors in shaping the earth's surface. So what are the different factors which are acting together and the shaping the earth's surface, or changing or modifying the what landforms? So landforms are dynamic and ever evolving process. So we need to write that landforms are changing, it is evolving process. And why it is evolving? It is evolving because of the interplay between the various factors or various forces, the forces like endogenetic forces, forces like exogenetic forces, forces like geological forces, or any other forces. Is that clear, guys? Right. So in today's session we have discussed the basic concepts of tectonic geomorphology. So basically, tectonic geomorphology is the basic parts of geomorphology. Again, I'll repeat that geomorphology is divided into two important parts. Basic concept is related to tectonic geomorphology, and the advanced geomorphology, where we will be discussing various processes, various cycles, the concept of channel morphology. Right. So I hope you understood the today's lectures, the point, that is the factors which controls the landform development. So guys, do practice the questions at home, do write the answers of this question. Okay, you can draw the diagrams also, even you can draw the flow charts in the answers also, right? So try at home, and you can send your answer to me at my Telegram channel, right? So I hope you understood the today's session. So if you like the sessions, do like the video, do subscribe our channel, do subscribe the channel of Deva Academy MPSC UPSC, and also share this with the needy one. So let's stop today. Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching the